Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the American Man podcast. I'm Isaiah Ritchie, and today we're going to be talking about fasting. So, why fasting? So, every February, my church has designated that as a month of fasting, a month to remember fasting and to fast. Fasting doesn't have to be and probably shouldn't be constrained to just 1 month, but it's when we start to put an emphasis on it. So, what does fasting have to do with being, a man? Well, I think that every man should have two things that have to do with fasting. The first is a spiritual foundation, and we can get into that on another podcast. But I do think that there's a fundamental part of our manliness and fundamental part of our American culture that rests on principles of Christianity, of religion, and those types of things. And the second thing is learning self-control, and that's something that in our country has been, I think, almost entirely lost. We don't exercise self-control in anything. In fact, our excess is celebrated in this country. Um, I can remember the movie Super Size Me. Actually, they used to say, "Would you like to supersize that?" Anytime you go to McDonald's, and it's not limited to food. It's everything. We've got to have bigger trucks, bigger everything, bigger, more expensive, nicer things, all those things. So we sort of celebrate materialistic goals and excess in those things. So fasting um, is a big part of Christianity. Uh, I think a lot of Christians have moved away from fasting because, um, it's one of those things that we think of. Well, that's just something that like the Old Testament people did, or that's something that people did back then. But I don't really see the purpose of it now. But even in the New Testament, you see plenty of examples of fasting. Jesus himself, before he started his ministry, fasted for 40 days before being tempted. Um, and even though his disciples and followers didn't fast while he was there, um, he didn't say that they were done fasting. He said that how can the guests of the bridegroom mourn while he is with them? That's Matthew 9. So his implication though is that there's a time when he won't be. He says the time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them, and then they will fast. So we can't just say, well, that was something we did in the olden days, but we don't do that anymore, right? So that's why I fast, why we should fast. I think if you are a Christian, then I think we're told, or I think we're commanded to fast. So a lot of people nowadays fast. In a sense, the fasting tradition is carried over to Lent. Now, I'm not a Catholic and I don't know the specific doctrines of Lent, and I'm not going to pretend to, but there's an element of giving something up, right? There's an element of, I'm going to forego this thing during this period of time, and in doing so, I'm going to remember God. I'm going to, instead of thinking of that thing, I'm going to focus on God. Um, and I think that's one of the primary reasons to fast. And uh, but one thing I'm going to put out there that a lot of people in modern society, in the modern church, when they fast, they give up something like during Lent that's not necessarily food. Okay, now I think that can still be helpful, but I would strongly encourage anyone who is considering fasting to be a biblical mandate, and on top of that, to learn self control. Um, I would encourage that person to try to do a food based fast. Now, it doesn't have to be all food. It can be a limited food. It could be liquids only. It can be something like that. Um, I last year did a 7 day water only fast, and I want to do something similar to that this year. The reason I think it's important for it to be a food based fast, several reasons. First of all, in the Bible, there's never a time when, you know, they were told to fast from, media content or fast from devices or fast from things like that. And those are all good things. And in a sense, some of those things, I'm sure that, a lot of kids these days would rather give up food than give up their digital devices or entertainment, things like that. But our body does not rely on those things. Um, we do not get weak without those things. Um, we don't feel the physical um, lacking when we don't have those things. And that's why I think it's important to at least attempt fasting from food from time to time. When your body loses food, you actually get physically weak. And in that state, you feel a dependence um, that you don't otherwise feel. And if you give up, say you give up watching TV, you can replace the entertainment of TV with reading books or some other form of entertainment. Um, you can go outside and play with the kids or something else. There's no replacement for nutrition, right? When you're fasting from food, there's no replacement for the nutrition that you're not getting, and your body physically starts to break down. And I think that is a more dramatic and direct association with our relationship with God. I think that is the closest thing that we can do to understand our dependence on God, right? So we don't, if God is not in our lives, we cannot replace him with something else. Just as if you fast from food, you cannot replace it with something else. Okay. So that's the primary reason why I think fasting should be done via food. It's not to say that other fasts aren't helpful, and obviously there are circumstances. For example, if you work manual labor and you're in construction, you can't fast food for that long a period of time because you could actually injure yourself. And you could get fired if you're not able to swing a hammer for a couple of days or something like that, depending on your job situation. I have the luxury of having a job where I sit behind a desk, so I don't know if that's a luxury every day or not, but in this particular instance, it allows me to be able to do something like this um, without worrying about that side of it. So the other side of things, though, again, is taking back control of your life, taking back control of your temptations, of your maybe bad habits or something like that, and having some self control, some restraint. Um, so again, what are things that we can do now? Now, this is where doing a media fast or something like that is probably, um, similarly helpful. Um, again, in America, we're addicted to our devices, we're addicted to our entertainment, we're addicted to all these things. I mean, the use of a cell phone, the ping of a text or a tweet or one of those things has been shown to release the same chemicals in your brain as certain drugs. So we are addicted to some of these things, to media, to um, entertainment, to social media, to things like that, to the news, right? We're news junkies. We like to check things. So giving up those things for a longer period of time helps us take control of our lives. It helps us to not be slaves to media, to social media, to entertainment, to things like that, and really focus on what's around us, what's in our lives, being a better parent, being a better spouse, being a better friend, being a better coworker, being able to focus on those things. And so I think that giving up something for an extended period of time should be something that every man does, um, at least on an annual basis. For a long time, I was fasting every Monday, and some days it sucked. I mean, there's times when you really just you you want that burger, or someone brings cupcakes into the office or something, and you just shoot. But you're not gonna miss that. It's hard in the moment, but the day later you're gonna forget about it. So I'd encourage everybody out there, um, whether it's for spiritual reasons or just learning to take control of your body, your health, your diet, um, try to do some fasting. Try to do some fasting every month. If it's maybe a day a week, maybe it's a partial fast, maybe it's giving up dinner at some time, once a week or something. Just this reminder that truly you are in control of your habits, um, and from the spiritual side, right? Going without so that we find ourselves relying on God in a deeper sense, and understanding what it's like to not have something critical to our survival. So that's my encouragement for this week. Um, so I wish you the best. Good luck with any fasting that you try. Pray and see what you can do.